Okay, I want to talk about something that anyone can do if you have worked at all. You could be working doing, side gigs. You can be working doing some sort of just personal work. If you're going to pay taxes on it next year, it doesn't have to be a job. It could be any job. You could be working at McDonald's. It doesn't matter. You want to go, no matter who you are, and save up 50 bucks. And then go to set up a Roth IRA, and all you have to do is search on whatever search engine you want a promotion for the place you want to set up your Roth IRA at. A lot of people choose Fidelity because you don't have to have any minimum investment. You could invest $1 after you've done your initial 50. It doesn't care. What will happen is you invest your 50 bucks in your Roth IRA from your bank account. Once you do that, just put it in an index fund. As soon as you do the index fund, you're good to go, and this $100 gets put in there within like 25 days. The $100 has to stay in there for at least 90 days, but since it's a retirement account, you want to leave it in there. What's an index fund? It is, say the stock that you want to get, you're worried that that company might not do very well. Well, it doesn't matter because mutual funds, index funds, ETFs, all that kind of stuff is groupings of stocks from the business, okay? So you don't have to do anything yourself because it's managed by somebody else, okay? So when you get yourself an index fund, most people do S&P 500. So just go make your account, put your $50 in, wait a couple of days, and then the money will come from the bank into your account that you started with, for instance, Fidelity. I'm not sponsored by them, they just happen to be one that I know for a fact does a promotion. And then after that, you just stick it in your S&P 500 index fund, whatever it is, and call it good. You don't technically ever have to touch it again if you don't want to for the rest of your life. I highly recommend touching it again, but you don't have to. You can leave that $150 in there and it will slowly accumulate more and more money for you as long as you have it set to auto reinvest the money back in to the index fund. Say 3 years later, you come back to that $150, okay? It's gonna get like 8% on it. It's not very high, right? Not a big deal. But say you come back anyway, and you're like, okay, here's my $150, and you say times 8%. There you go. You got $12 in a year, okay? Well then, now it's $162 times 8%. Well, now you got $12.96 the next year after that. It just keeps going a little bigger and a little bigger each time. So say you do that over and over and over again, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Eventually, it's going to turn into something worthwhile. Now, what I highly recommend is invest like $10 a month. If you can't afford $10 a month, $10 a year. $10 a year all by itself is better than nothing. If you make a Roth IRA, you can invest up to $6,000 a year for the average Joe Schmo. You can be super poor, super povertous, you can still do it. You can be like on an extremely tight budget, very fixed income, you can still do it. A Roth IRA is something anyone can start. You could be 17 years old with your first job, you can start it. You can be, 50 years old, you never set up anything for retirement at all, you can still do it. Get yourself a Roth IRA. Why? Roth IRAs, you already paid your tax on the money you're putting in, or else you're about to next year when you do your taxes. Either way, that money's going to be taxed right off the bat, which means that when you take it out someday when you're retired, it doesn't have any tax on it. And that includes any investments that earned. So if you got any dividends back, which is money that companies that you put a share into their stock, they'll pay you sometimes for. basically investing in them. That's called a dividend. If you get any dividend back, you just reinvest back into it. You get some sort of what's called capital gains, where your stock is worth way more than what you originally bought for it. All of that difference in value, just put it right back into investing in that account. Treat that money, that $150 that you put in there in the first place, which again was actually only $50, treat it like it's there and it's not going away. It's there for when you get old someday. It might only grow to $15,000 because over the decades you didn't touch it, but you also didn't do any investing back into it by contributing more of your actual money from your bank into it. That's still more money than you would have had going into retirement. Make sure that you go ahead and do this because there's no reason not to, and it can help you in the long run so much. And when I was growing up, nobody ever told me about a Roth IRA. When I was a little kid, my parents went bankrupt 3 times before I even, hit 10 years old. My parents didn't know anything about money, at all. And they didn't have a Roth IRA when they retired recently. My dad had his union pension and Social Security, and that's it. Never once made a single retirement account. I come from a family that had no clue. We lived in extreme poverty. I still live in extreme poverty, technically to this day. I have a roommate. I can't afford to just pay rent by myself. But you know what I can afford to do? Put $10 a year into an investment account. And it might not be the biggest investment ever, but I don't have to have thousands of dollars to start putting something toward retirement. It might not be enough to live off of, but you know what? It's better than just hoping Social Security still exists when I get old. And anything is better than nothing. You got to start from somewhere and hope that that somewhere gets you better than nothing. And this is a very, very straightforward way to do that. Anybody in the United States can have a Roth IRA for $50. You can get it another $100, and you can have that grow toward retirement. If you can spare $50, even just that by itself, you can do something to help yourself decades from now. And again, if you can invest more than that, that's good. But even if all you've got that you can invest, period, is that $50, it still is something. Anybody can do it. I know it. If you've never set it up before, that's the only requirement there is you've never set it up before and you aren't rich. You aren't already someone earning more than $300,000 a year. Even if you earn, $60,000 a year or $100,000 a year, you're still completely eligible to set up a Roth IRA. So if you're poor, if you're struggling, if you're I don't know what the future's going to look like, here's a small, tiny way you can invest in yourself and give yourself some reassurance for your future, even if it's by the smallest little margin. Make something happen for yourself, even if it's tiny. Something is better than nothing.